Hi guys, Grand J here and welcome to another one of our videos. In today's video, I'll be going over the second part of my Crystal Cup Crusade, and today I'll be talking about the Fire Crystal Cup held in Melbourne. So, this video will be talking about the deck that I'm playing and the tournament and the games and the matchups that I played, as well as a little bit of insight about the weekend as well. So, I played Windwater FFCC, and I called my deck More Pain, More Gain. The reason why I called it that is because I want to play a deck that had a higher EX burst count. So this is a sort of somewhat standard Wind Water build, but it doesn't run Veritas. It runs Yuri and Chelinka FFCC package. And yeah, runs our Hanalam with that as well because the synergy with Valor and Porum is really, really high. So, yeah, the reason why I played this deck is that I wasn't expecting to be a lot of mono wind in the meta. So of course Melbourne is my home city, and so like I have a pretty good feel for the metagame, and it seemed like quite a while, a large majority of the high level players, they would be playing Ice or Fire Ice, so definitely Ice was going to be quite popular, and I didn't like the experience that I played with mono wind in Thailand the week before. I felt that it was very difficult to regain board after your opponent has gained board, and I didn't think that it would pair up too well against Fire Ice too much. Yeah, even though I didn't do a lot of testing for it, that was just the feeling that I had, so I really didn't want to play Mono Wind into it. That being said, at the time, when I was playing Mono Wind, I wasn't running Fina in my deck, so probably in hindsight, that probably would have affected my deck making decision. But yeah, I was learning every week as I was playing more and more of these events, more about the matchups and more about the different cards as well. So the reason why I landed on Windwater is because Windwater has a high EX burst count, and especially for Ice or Fire Ice decks that like to play somewhat aggressively in the early game, having a high EX burst count allows you to get that extra little bit of card advantage or effect advantage in the game that will allow you to sort of close out a longer game. So yeah. Yeah, so basically, yeah, my build didn't run Veritas because from testing, Veritas was actually worse than Yuri against the Ice Mono Ice matchup, simply because Veritas, it does come into play and it does clear out one of your opponent's forwards straight away. But once Veritas is on the field, quite often it just gets dull and frozen by your opponent's Genesis or any number of effects. And basically, Veritas quite often won't be able to trigger off his second ability of causing your opponent to lose a character on the field. And he was just kind of a dead card. Whereas Yuri is a forward that your opponent always has to try to deal with as soon as possible, as well as it being able to slow down the sort of bleeding and has like better synergy with Bartz and Valor and the entire sort of win package in general. So that's why I landed on Yuri instead of Veritas. And also, I thought that Unify would be played to a certain extent in the current metagame by sort of players building sort of rogue decks, and so yeah, that's why I didn't include Magus Sisters in my deck, just because yeah, I didn't want my deck to be even more weak against Unify, and that's why I didn't run Veritas as well. Because yeah, if you ran Veritas and Magus Sisters, and like I've got Porums in the deck already, that would just be a huge amount of your forwards just losing a significant part of that value just by countered by one backup. So yeah, so I didn't really want to lean too heavily into sort of enter break zone type abilities. So yeah, and also I just kind of didn't have the space for Magus Sisters. I thought that having your Strollers in the deck would be more relevant than Magus Sisters in this specific case. So yeah, onto the actual tournament itself. First round, I didn't actually get the name of this player, but he was playing Mono Ice, and it was my only loss in Swiss. So yeah, so it's interesting, like I talk about this deck and how I built it, or I decided to play it because it had a better matchup against Ice, and then yeah, like I lost to Ice in the first round of the tournament. So yeah, I did get some backups built, but I never really got a chance to resolve a Valor 4 X combo, so I didn't get a Valor 4 plus Chelinka or a Valor 4 plus Fina, so I didn't actually end up clearing out his board. So that's kind of one weakness for the Windwater deck, is that it does require like 2-card combos in order to wipe board, whether it's in the form of Valor 4 or Fina, Valor 4 Chelinka. You can even get some pretty high damage with Valor 4 Chelinka and our Hanlem, because you can do Chelinka and then our Hanlem to do another 3k, and then Valor 4 reactivate our Hanlem and shoot another 3k, so you can like wipe out like what 2, 3, yeah, so you can do 8k to 2 guys, as well as just like a Valor 4 reactivation as well. So yeah, and there's a lot of good sort of like interactions with like Valor 4, as well as Porum allowing you to pick up Valor 4 for even more synergy as well. So yeah, so I didn't get to pull off that combo. Also, I'm pretty sure I only hit 1 EX burst, and for a deck that I believe had like 22 EX bursts, yeah, it was like quite low. So yeah, I got overrun by aggression, and I was never able to clear his board, so I lost that first game. So I was 0-1 at the time. Round 2, I was playing Tim. So Tim is like quite a long time FFTCG player, but I believe it's not his main game. He does play a whole bunch of other card games as well. He's quite a strong player. But yeah, I don't think he had like too much experience with the recent metagame in FFTCG. So he played Mono Wind. We both opened 2 backups. And something that I learned really importantly over in Thailand is that against Mono Wind, you want to play Zidane early and you want to play it often just to really sort of hinder their early game plays, their setup, and also apply a forward on the field that can pressure as well. So I did it twice in the early game. And yeah, he kind of just never recovered because I just like dicked out his plays. And so he didn't really have a smooth ramp. And then subsequently, as he was trying to hold back my offense and my aggression, he just like really couldn't keep up. And then yeah, I overran him. So going into game 3, I was 1-1 into round 3. I was playing against a Melbourne local Caleb. So Caleb is a new player, newish player. I think he's been playing game for like 6 to 8 months. So he's like actually quite new. And yeah. So I got paired up with him in round 3. He was playing Earthfire FF7. So yeah, this is a deck that he'd been playing a lot in locals for quite a long time. So I was pretty familiar with it. I also built an Earthfire FF7 deck as well, like weeks or like months back, just to play, just because I was like interested in having fun with it. So yeah, I had a pretty good idea about this matchup. This game I was pretty much in control, except for 2 specific instances or 2 very specific things that did sort of like give him a huge amount of advantage, which did make this game far closer than I would have liked. So the first scenario is that he had 2 backups and he played a Barrett. So it did cost him 4 CP because he did happen to have a Jesse on the field, and I only had 2 backups, I believe, as well. So I'm pretty sure he started the game. And then yeah, so on my following turn, I played Dabblos. I pitched 2 cards, played Dabblos to kill the Barrett because I didn't want him to get any sort of advantage from. Because the Barrett, if he doesn't get removed, he's just like constantly getting a huge amount of value for the deck. So I figured, oh yeah, I'll play Dabblos, kill it out straight away, even though I have to discard 2 cards for it. And then yeah, he subsequently countered by discarding 2 cards to play Mist Dragon. So yeah, so like that technically both cost us the same amount of resources because I had to pitch 2 cards to play Dabblos, he had to pitch 2 cards to play Mist Dragon. So yeah, but that being said though, he still had his Barrett on the field. I was going to get him additional advantage, and because like I pitched cards, I was a lot further behind in resources in terms of like building backups, which was pretty important for Windwater to do as well. The second thing that really sort of like hurt me as well was when I dull froze his Tifa. So at some point, like in the next 2 or 3 turns, like he had a Tifa, and because he had a Zangan, he was like hasting it in. I dull froze it, and then subsequently on the following turn, I attacked with one of my 7Ks. He EX burst a Titan, which just killed my Yuri. And yeah, so that's like another thing that FF7 Fire Earth like has going for it. It has a pretty high EX burst count in between like cards like Marlene, Zac, Titan, Clouds. There's so many EX bursts and Zangan as well, that yeah, actually this is one of those decks where you really want to prioritize just killing their guys a lot of the time and having good board control instead of just like attacking aggressively, because you'll get hit by EX bursts a lot. So yeah, I believe I ended up winning barely in terms of damage. So I think I beat him like 7 damage to 6 damage. So like that was actually like too close to a win in my opinion. Not to say that Caleb's bad or anything, but I'm just saying that considering that like how the tier level of my deck and the tier level of his deck, it really should have been like a more difficult, a more easier or more one-sided game than how close it got. So yeah. So going into round 4, I was playing yet another Melbourne local, CU. So yeah, I was 2-1 in this round. And so he was playing Mono Lightning. And so basically, CU, he's been playing for about a year and a half-ish. So he's not a new player, but he's not like a veteran either. And he like always plays Mono Lightning. So he only plays Mono Lightning, and he's like very experienced, and like he's very experienced with the deck, very familiar with the deck. Obviously, if you play the same deck for like over a year, you'll get pretty experienced with it, even though you have slight adaptations and changes in your deck based upon the cards that are being released. So he opened pretty optimally. He got Sid Predator into Luswa, and then that set him up into a Alpha Nord on the following turn that he can put into play. My mid game, my hand did brick a little bit. I had 2 years in hand at Chilinka and Athena. I really didn't want to break up my Chilinka and Athena combo simply because it's so good. So it deals 7k damage to the board, which is super relevant against Lightning because they have so many forwards that are at the 6k mark, whether it's Alcid, Onion Knight, Alba, Diana, or Allure, having a Chilinka and Fina on board to this, having a Chilinka and Fina in hand to wipe their board and kill like 2 or 3 guys is like really, really important. And like, yeah, so I had just like, I had like I had 2 Yuris in my hand. I did happen to have the backups to put Yuri into play, so I did have 4 backups. But I needed to like stem some damage on the board as well. So yeah, so I kind of had to play the Yuri, even though I got no value out of it, and because I knew that my Yuri would die straight away because I knew he had a cane in hand, because he got it with King of Bermesia earlier. But yeah, so it's kind of like do I like play a Chilinka and then like the Chilinka gets blown up and then like my Fina Chilinka combo gets wasted, or do I play a Yuri and just like let the Yuri die to a Kane? So yeah, so I played a Yuri down. To be honest, like I'm not even 100% sure if it was the correct play in hindsight. But yeah, so like I basically just gave him a free Yuri, to be honest. So yeah, another thing to note is that Siu, because English isn't his first language, he does take a lot of time to read cards and stuff, and so this game did go to time. And yeah, so on turn 0, which was his turn, he dumped his hand and played like 3 forwards. So his board was Hildebrand, Allure, Alba, Diana, and Onion Knight, like the Lightning Onion Knight, and he had like 1 card in hand, right? And so yeah, so that turn he used Shoal with Allure. And yeah, at that stage, I only had a Dull Yuri, a Bart's 3 active backups, and 5 damage. So basically, he just deals me 2 damage and I'll just lose that turn, right? He activates Shoal and tries to press for the win. I then use Dabblos and Valfor to basically clear his board. So like I Dabblos to reactivate backups and reactivate forwards. So that gets my Yuri active. I then get like I get Yuri to shoot something. And then Valfor clear some shit, shoot some stuff again. Bart's block something, and then Yuri blocks something and then shoot something as well. So I was basically able to clear his entire board, and I only lost my Bart's that turn. And yeah, instead of dying. And then yeah, I ended up dealing lethal damage I ended up dealing lethal damage to him on turn 3 of time, which was like my final turn. So yeah, so that game was actually really, again, like far too close than I would have liked, considering the tier difference in terms of our decks. But yeah, like, so yeah, I won that game very much barely, in time. So next, we were in round 5, and I was against Murad. So Murad is the guy who runs Mogpod. So yeah, they put out a ton of great content. He's basically one of the main proponents to the New Zealand FFTCG community. Great guy, really nice guy. Like, I guess technically, like, older New Zealander players are all just kind of really nice. Like, it's just part of their culture. I guess they're kind of like the Japanese of like oceanic of the oceanic region. So yeah, he was a really nice guy. And he always has these like very interesting spicy decks that he brings. He never really plays meta. He always tries to like build something a little bit roguish. And so today I played against him in round 5. He was playing Fire Lightning sort of Weenie Rush. And yeah, so during the mid game, for this particular game, I had around 3 damage and had 1 Yuri on the board. And yeah, so he then played 2 or 3 forwards, I can't remember, to have a board of like Allure, Rain, Frit, and Rain. Okay, that's not confusing at all. So he had the free cost World of Final Fantasy Rain, and he had like free cost Night Rain, okay? And then he had another small forward, I can't remember what it was, and he only had 1 card in hand. So at this stage, I realized, okay, you don't just dump your hand to build this sort of board unless you can either use Rain's leadership ability or Allure's Shoal ability, both of which basically give all his guys haste and basically allow him to just like plow through, because Rain would just like put a 4k difference between guys, or Allure's Shoal would put a 2k difference between us as well. So yeah, as I kind of predicted, he did I forget which one. I think he did Rain's leadership ability, and so I immediately Valafor'd and Diablos. So Valafor'd and Diablos to reactivate backups, and I Dole froze his Rain. So even though like his forwards still all gain haste, I was able to lock down the Rain, which like would have like made the damage difference, which would have made his forwards plus 2k and made my guys minus 2k. So yeah, so I was pretty lucky that I managed to like resolve that and get that all sorted out. So yeah, so I didn't die that turn, and I had the like Yuri and I believe, a Vada on the field, and I was able to like brick wall him. And then on the following turn, I used Chilling Camphina to clear out his board. And basically he couldn't recover because he dumped his hand, and now I had a board of 3 or 4 guys, and one of them being Yuri, and basically it just allows me to lock out any sort of aggression that he would have for following turns. So that was round 5, another win. So in round 6, I got to play Tom Huyen. He was yet another Melbourne local. So he plays a different store to my locals, although it's kind of close to me, but it's a little bit annoying for me to get to. So he was playing Earth, Water, Wind, Mill. Tricolor Mill. I actually don't recall much about this game at all. But I did really zerg him down that game. And he really didn't get much milling off. I think the issue with his Earth Water Wind Mill deck, it was still running Riku as mill stuff. It was also running I'm pretty sure it was running the FF11 Star Sybil Semi Lafina package, and because of that, there were just like so many moving parts in the deck that if you don't get the specific cards that you need in the correct order, then your deck just kind of just doesn't combo off, or you're not able to control the board particularly well. I did manage to beat through him. I don't remember too much about the game. So I messaged him afterwards just to ask him about his deck and stuff, and he told me to mention that he only did 8 damage in Swiss. I think he definitely made day 2, but I don't remember his Swiss score. I think he might have gone X2 or something, but he only did 8 damage in Swiss. So good stuff repping the mill deck. And for the final game of the day, I played against Rumble. He was playing Earth, Wind, Dark. So it ran a pretty large dark package. It had Veritas, Camlanaut, Galdes, Chaos, and I'm not sure. I think it might have had Zodiac as well. I don't remember too much about this deck, but I do recall that his hand did brick, because he, at some point, he had to break his Luminous Puma. So he had a Luminous Puma on the field, and he had to break his Luminous Puma just to pick up a random Earth card in order for him to cast Shantoto. And then which is absolutely fine, because on the following turn I could just play Pain, Zidane, and Bartz and stuff. I could just zerg out dudes afterwards as well. And then when I Zidaned him, he literally had a handful of free dark cards, right? So I don't remember exactly which free dark cards, but that's why his hand bricked so hard, and that's why he had to break his Luminous Puma to get an Earth card just to play Shantoto. So basically I was able to push through, and that was that. So post day 1, I finished day 1 in 6-1 at rank 2, I believe. So that was obviously another great day 1 for me. I got to hang out with a group of players after day 1 who went to another local store to just do some practice of drafting. So one of the players bought a booster box, and they 8 of those players just sat around and doing some draft. I sat down just to hang out to chat with them, and also just sort of observed and watched their drafting. After watching a couple of them draft, I was watching a lot of the players draft and watching packs move around and seeing what cards people pick. I was at this stage pretty confident about my day 2, because I'm pretty sure quite a few of those players who were drafting that night also made day 2 as well. And so these guys were definitely nowhere near the same level that those Japanese players were drafting at. I felt very confident, especially after the sort of the Japanese boot camp that I did with the Japanese player over in Thailand. I was pretty confident about my day 2 drafting. Plus, I had some really good experience playing draft in Thailand in general. I really wish I had time to review the stream, but because the train from the city to my house that was getting worked on that night, they had to replace it with buses, and god damn it, that took me 60-70 minutes to get home. So by the time I got home, it was pretty late, and the following day there would be another replacement bus instead of a train as well. So I have to get up early to get to the tournament as well. I wanted to get enough sleep, so I didn't review the stream. But something that I really want to do from now on, especially for 2-day events I have a stream, I want to finish day 1, have my dinner, go home, or go to my hotel and just review stream, just put the stream on and just watch it, and take notes of how people play and what sort of interesting decks they might have. So I guess it's even sort of A+ extra credit sort of level of tournament preparation, but it's something that I want to do in future. So day 2 draft. I actually very much like how I drafted for day 2. So pack 1, pick 1, I picked out Vincent. So in regards to picking out draft picks, you don't always have to pick your heroic or legendary, but a large part of the time, I think at least probably half of the heroics or legendaries in this set are all just like first pickable. So obviously Vincent very solid, like he's on curve, and also he's just like got a very solid removal ability as well. So my first pack, I got a lot of Earth cards. I saw a lot of Earth cards being picked around, so I like went into Earth. So I got Sid Garlon, Yang, Heretical Knight Garland, Golem, and Begamnon. So these are all like really quality Earth cards to pick up. So I was feeling really good about pack 1. Pack 2. I saw some like good ice cards get past me early on, so I did pick up a Renoa and a Quistis. But yeah, there was still plenty of like good solid Earth cards that were being passed to me even from my left. Like I think by the end of pack 2, I ended up having 3 golems drafted at that stage. There probably wasn't enough to really like justify building like going into ice, but at least having Renault and Quistis means I had a good foundation. If I got past more ice stuff, I could like pick up some of that stuff as well, even though it doesn't really synergize with Earth too much. So pack 3, I got another Vincent somehow. I just like opened up a Vincent and then like I put it into my pile, which is now pretty good because it now means like Reeves is now a relevant burstable card, because if you have 2 Vincents, it's actually now worth picking up Reeves, the lightning backup that EX bursts to search for a Vincent or a Kate Sif, but because there's no Kate Sifs in this set, it's only relevant for Vincent. And because like I had 2 Vincents, very unlikely that anyone else in my draft pod would have Vincent, so it means that all these Reeves would get down to like the second to last card, and I'll be able to pick them up every single time. So that was pretty good. And it actually did happen. Like, so I did get Reeves like really late. It was like probably third to last pick or second to last pick in a pack. It's an EX burst, and potentially in the right situation you can play it, and I'll get into that a little bit later. Also in this pack, I did see both a Regis and a Core in the same pack. So I picked up the Regis first, but really in hindsight I should have picked the Core first, because Core you can always just play it as a forward, right? But Regis is only kind of playable only if you have like Core or if you have Ravis. So I ended up drafting 2 Regises throughout the total draft, but I didn't actually end up getting Core, which really kind of sucked. So the Core never sort of wheeled back to me, and I never saw another one in the entire draft. So pack 4, I opened up Wall. This is quite good, because I had picked up a couple of fire cards, and like a large majority of my deck is Earth. So one of Wall's required elements is Earth. So I definitely first picked it. Even if I didn't have fire as a secondary element, I would have picked up anyways, just because he's such a solid card, 4 CP 9k, and he also just has like an ability where he on death as well, or on break. So at this stage, on my left, I was noticing that a whole bunch of like good fire backers were being passed to me, mainly Cyan and Shadow. So Shadow's actually really good. It's actually really easy for you to trigger off his ability to deal 8,000, and dealing 8,000 damage is actually a very solid amount of damage as well. And Cyan is just like super good. It gives all you guys plus 1k and Brave on a 2 CP backup. So you can either play it early on if you just need the backup, or in the mid game if you want to apply pressure and also have some defense. It's usually good when both players are around that 2 or 3 damage mark. You play Cyan, you just swing with all your guys. Your opponent like generally can't really block them because now your guys are a little bit bigger than their guys, or you're trading up. And so you've also got Brave, so you're on defense, you're safe as well. So it's really good way to sort of like get ahead on that damage race. In pack 5, in review time, I noticed that my Earth backup count was a little bit low, so I really had to prioritize picking up Earth backups in this last pack. So I ended up getting 1 class 5th Moogle, which was the pumping Moogle, the Moogle that pumps up Earth cards. That is a rare, so it's a little bit more difficult to come by. But I really had to prioritize these Earth backups, such as like Banger, and class 5th Moogle as well. So overall, I was really happy with my draft, and this is what I got. This is. I was actually really happy with the draft overall in general. So like 3 Yangs is really, really good. 3 Yangs is really good. 2 Vincent's good. 1 Begamnan, and like a Renok and a Bwagi. So I kind of got the 2 important headhunters. 2 Lilties is fine. 2 Heretical Knight Garland. So that was like my core sort of forward line. I also got a Wall there. And then the rest is kind of filler. I got quad golems, which means like fighting super easy. I got a Belias as well, which like does play into my fire cards. Mist Dragon, I guess, just to counter any sort of like interesting summons that my opponent might have. My Earth backup line, I got the 2 Earth Moogle, so 1 that pumps Earth, and 1 also dulls for lightning, which means if I do get the class 10th Moogle, which is the Lightning Earth Moogle, it means I can now play Reeves or Odin. But I just had Reeves and Odin as an EX burst, just in case I do EX burst, I can get Reeves value and I can get Odin value. Sylph is just chucked in there to increase the EX burst count a little bit as well. So if you do EX burst, you draw a card and you give all you guys plus 1,000 power as well. So in regards to Odin, this card is actually surprisingly good. So like I originally underrated how good Odin is. Like because like I thought, oh yeah, cool. It only kills a 2 CP forward, and it's like, why would you bother playing 2 CP forwards in draft, right? Because they're woefully smaller in size than other forwards, and you generally want to be pressuring with larger stuff. The big thing to note about Odin is that in draft format, there's actually a lot of good 2-cost forwards in the game that are being played in draft, being highly played in draft. To note. So Seifer is one of them. All the small headhunters, they're 2 CP, and especially Renoa as well. So Odin is actually surprisingly really good in draft. Like it's like crap as shit in constructed, because you'll hardly ever find any 2s that you're going to hit. But yeah, in draft, he's actually really, really good. And then, like, just I have a whole bunch of other fire cards just as filler. So I've got my Bomb and Bergen. So I learned my lesson about Bergen. So I just, like, had him there as just, like, an extra fire card to pitch with stuff. I had no intention of playing him. And I don't think there's any situation where I could have even gotten close to playing him. I know that I have 2 copies of Regis without any targets. Again, it's just Earth cards I can just pitch for CP and stuff. So yeah, so I had, like, yeah, a couple of dead cards, but like my forward line, it was actually really, really high quality. So I was like really happy with it overall. So yeah. In terms of my drafting, in terms of my draft games, the first draft game was against Elijah. So this game was streamed. So do check in the description below, of the stream game. This game, oh man, like this is so good. I really enjoyed this one. So he drafted Fire Earth as well, which I guess makes sense considering that we were both sitting exactly opposite to each other on the draft table. So this one's actually interesting. So did you know that Yang, he can actually buff himself? So when he does enter play, he does give a forward plus 2,000 Brave. So generally you're going to be playing him to just like give another guy like 2,000 power and Brave. And yeah, there's a bonus of like, yeah, if that card that he gave the Brave to is also a monk, it also deals its power as damage when it declares an attack. But there is nothing to say that Yang cannot pump himself up. So Yang can actually choose himself, and if you can combine it with haste, then he becomes a 10,000 power, 10,000 power with Brave, and also he has haste, and he also can like deal damage to a guy when he attacks. And that was very much noted against Elijah. So basically, he had played out. He had played out some guys early on and was like hitting me with his forwards. I let myself get up to 4 damage, exactly, and then and then I was able to just like wipe his board. So I played down Yang. I gave it haste with Belias. And then I attacked through, killed one of his guys. I played Vincent, killed another one of his guys, and then I played a Heretical Knight Garland. So I cleared out his board. And his hand was pretty much empty. His hand was pretty much empty at that stage. And I had more backups than him. And so yeah, so I cleared out his guys, and then like had 3 big guys. I had a Yang, Heretical Knight Garland, and a Vincent on the board, and basically from there on out, he was just so behind because like I had so much board pressure on him, and yeah, he couldn't really get into the game, and I just had like a shit ton of combat tricks. Early game, I was able to crap on his Begamnon. So his turn 2 play, I believe, was like Begamnon, so he got like 2 guys. And then like I played a Lilty, and I had Golem in hand. So basically, he swung with one of his guys. I blocked with Lilty, picked up a card with Lilty's ability, and then Golemed him. Golem my guy to pump him up and win in combat, and then he swung with another guy, and then I blocked with Lilty and I golemed it again to like take out another guy. So Lilty single-handedly like took out 2 guys, and because golems draw cards, golems are technically free, and Lilty was getting me cards back every time she was blocking. So that like just hugely like tilted the resource race into my favor, and then like I just crushed the rest of his board, and yeah, that was good. That was a very, very surgically precise game on my behalf. So I was actually very happy with how well my deck flowed into that, and I was able to use my spicy Yang Belias combo. So, draft game number 2, I'm not sure who this was, but I'm pretty sure he was an Adelaide player. So he had drafted Fire Lightning. I don't remember too much about this game specifically. But yeah, there was actually one very particular play, against him. So I had a pretty decent board. He attacked with Bomb, against, I believe, Lilty. So I blocked it, and it traded against my Lilty and then spread 2k to all the rest of my guys. He then played Gaius to deal 3k to my Yang. So my Yang is 8,000 power. It received 2,000 from the Bomb and 3,000 from Gaius. And so in response to him searching with Gaius, I then used Shadow's ability. So I have the Shadow backup. I broke Shadow to deal Gaius 8,000. Now, like, I could do it because, like, my Lilty had died to the bomb. But, like, what was really important is that I was able to blow up his guys in response to the search effect. Because if he does resolve the search effect, he'll be able to play immediately whatever he searched for. And then Geist's effect would trigger and he can do another 3k, which would then deal 3k to my Yang, putting it from 5k damage to 8k damage. By using Shadow, breaking his Gaius, I was able to blow up his Gaius, prevent the 3k to kill my Yang, and his only target, I believe, was Ridderton. And then all of a sudden, he has no category 14 forwards on the field, so he couldn't play his Ridderton. That pretty much sealed the game there when, like, I killed one of his guys for a pretty cheap cost. Prevented his strategy of killing my guy, and also locked out the guy that he was trying to play as well. So that was a big key moment that sort of like really locked that game out for me. So I was 2 out at the stage, and third game, I played against Jono. So Jono is another Melbourne local. He's actually a really good bud of mine. I used to play a whole bunch of locals with him. I guess more locals popped up in our different areas, so we don't really sort of see each other very much. Really, really nice guy. Really good player as well. If anything, he's probably a little bit too much meme. So if he toned down his meminess a little bit, he could like definitely get up there, like competitive wise, to like the top like 1-2 type positions in these sort of major tournaments. But usually most of the time he makes top 8, so he's actually really, really good as well. So his deck was like quad column monstrosity. It was just like it was like pretty random. He did get a couple of really good cards in the form of he did get a pretty complete FF8 package of like Quistis, Renoa, and Laguna. But the rest of his deck was just pretty much filler. He had some win stuff in terms of like Fat Chocobo, Balfour, Fran, Pinella, and stuff like that. So his deck was a little bit all over the place. He didn't get like a super narrow draft. I remember even on first turn and second turn, he played Fat Chocobo. I'm like, really? Playing Fat Chocobo in draft? How many Chocobos did you get in order to like to believe in your deck enough to be willing to play Fat Chocobo? If you guys saw on the stream, he played Fat Chocobo and he's flipping, and he got the Chocobo. I was like, oh man, if he missed, he would have definitely been screwed that game. So overall, the game was pretty much in control for me. I was just like zerging out dudes, and he didn't have a very good way to deal with it. I had a massive board. I had like 8 guys on the field to his like 3, and like I was basically going to kill him on one particular turn. And then he managed to resolve Quistis's like level X def ability. And you know what? Out of all the cards that he could have flipped up the top, he flipped a free cost card, right? And my board at the time was like Bagamden, Boagi, which is like 5 and 2. I had a Yang, I believe, and then like double Lilty Vincent, right? So that turn, he was on like 4 damage, and I was just going to like crush him completely. He did level X def, ripped up a free, and then killed my 2 Lilties and my Vincent. Oh man, it was so bad. I still ended up winning that game, just because I was pretty far ahead at that stage. That major play saved him from just getting completely demolished that turn. It was pretty quality on the stream as well. And in my fourth round, I played against Chris Matiski, so I was 3-0 in draft at this stage, so I definitely made top 8 at this stage. So his deck was Lightning Water. He played an Adele early on. I believe it was like his turn 2. He played Adele 8. And I didn't have Bagamden to punish it because, Bagamden is pretty much one of the best cards to punish Adele 8 because Adele can only bounce cards while she's the only forward on that player's field. And so basically she basically makes it so that the player attacking can only attack with one forward at a time. Now, if she keeps bouncing up a forward, it means that the defending player doesn't really have anything to defend with. But if you play Bagamden, you'll always have a 2-cost forward. So Adele can keep bouncing up Bagamden, but you can keep playing Bagamden again and keep getting more dudes. And you'll always be able to swing back for more damage with the 2-cost. So obviously, I didn't get Bagamden, otherwise I would have just dropped it down immediately, right? And so, I just focused on ramping up backups, because it means that if he's just got Adele 8 on the field, it means he's not going to be doing a whole bunch of damage to me, and so I can spend 2, maybe 3 turns letting him attack with Adele, and I just focus on backups. I was playing cheap forwards as well, just to force him to discard. So basically I wasn't just letting him get free damage, I was forcing him to have to make discards. And so here's the big thing. So I believe I took free damage to his Adele early on, and then I decided to make the play to kill Adele. So first I played a Fusilier on Adele. So I paid the 2 CP Fusilier, paid the Fire CP to then deal 5k to Adele. And then I played Vincent. So Chris argued that Vincent's interplayability is some sort of new auto ability format where you get I don't even remember the bullshit explanation I got, right? So basically, something along the lines of the effect puts on the stack the option for you to choose to break a backup, and then once that resolves and you do choose to break a backup, it puts another effect on the stack, which is dealing the 8,000 damage. And his argument was, if he played Choo Choo Lane, the 1-cost water summon that makes him Vincent lose all its abilities, the first effect, which is you may break a backup, that's on stack, and that will resolve. But once it resolves, because Vincent's lost all his abilities, it won't trigger off the second part of the effect, which is deal 8,000 damage. So yeah, we called a Head Judge over, and Head Judge looked through his big comprehensive rulebook, which didn't have a very clear cut answer to that question. And then he determined playing Choo Choo Lane in that situation would prevent would allow me to still break a backup, but would prevent Vincent from being able to deal 8,000 damage to Adele in that sort of scenario. Do note that this was later determined to be an incorrect ruling. So definitely no crap to Chris or no crap to Sam, who was a head judge. It's definitely one of those really complex rulings based on a very new card. Sam is a great guy, and he definitely didn't try to do anything malicious or anything bad. He actually plays at my locals. Even head judges can sometimes make incorrect rulings with very specific things like this. So that's all fine. That kind of really dicked me out in terms of winning the game. That would have prevented me from killing Adele, and I had already committed a bunch of resources playing the Fusilier and getting the Vincent down and stuff. I did manage to stabilize the board by getting down Wall and some other forwards on the field and using Golem to stop him. On one of my attacks, I think it would have been second damage or something, I hit a Ravis EX burst, which allowed him to dull one of my forwards. I then played another 2 forwards to protect myself on the following turn, and then he chucked down another Ravis, and because I had more guys than him, he was able to dull both and just swinging for game. So I lost game 4 to Chris, but overall I ended up draft 3-1. So post draft, the Japanese boot camp was really super effective. Besides from that last game, I just was feeling super confident in all my games. I ended up Swiss and draft at 9-2 for overall third seed, so it's actually really good. And then I was paired against Tony Shi, which is probably New Zealand's best player into top 8, and he's a really nice guy. I met him when I went to New Zealand last year to play in their tournaments. Really great guy, and really nice guy. I guess, like I said, all New Zealanders are. So I was playing against him. So this game was actually streamed, so I'll put another link in the description below about this game. And this game is actually really, really long. To be honest, this best of 3 between me and Tony, this was the main reason why the tournament went over time by 90 minutes, because this is such a long game. So this was a wind water mirror match. So I was playing wind water, he was playing wind water. But the big difference to note is that his deck was running Una 5, as well as Chaos Wheel or Chaos Walker of the Wheel, as well as Veritas instead of the FFCC package. So there were a lot of differences between our water wind decks. The other thing to note is that he was playing, I believe, 2 Lenas to revive Porum, and he also had Magus in his deck. Our decks were actually very much different in terms of the side packages. In terms of the side packages, even though we were both playing Wind Water. So basically his deck punishes break zone effects a lot more, but pretty much it didn't really affect my deck because the only card it really affected was Porum. So I basically just wrote off Porum as being completely useless in my deck, except for its EX burst. So I knew that in general with Wind Water Mirror matchups, it's very important to mill your opponent, because generally both players have enough removal and enough dude spam that they just don't die from damage, and mill is generally how these games end. Not only that, his deck was weaker to it than my deck because his deck ran Magus Sisters. So Magus Sisters is just putting cards from his deck into a break zone. So his deck, in theory, should mill out slightly faster than my deck. So the key, obviously, is to apply enough pressure with forwards and to keep backups open that you can mill with Riku and just basically end the game from that. So game 1, I didn't have a great start. So I was stuck on one backup for a little while. And so the turn that dicked me hard was like when he played Magus Sisters and Veritas, and I wanted to attack through with Bartz. So I had a Bartz and a Pain on the field, and he had Magus Sisters and Veritas, and I believe he had a Pain on the field as well. I wanted to attack through with Bartz, and I wanted to play a Yuri in order so that if he blocked with his Veritas or he blocked with his Magus Sisters, I could then Yuri to make them lose their ability. So either I don't lose a character to Veritas or Magus Sister doesn't revive. And at that stage, he had 2 Chaos Wheels that were used. One was in damage, I'm pretty sure, and another one he had already cast. So literally, the only play that could punish me for playing Yuri in main phase 1 is if he bursts a Chaos Wheel. And you know what happened? I attacked with Bartz. He didn't block with Magus Sisters or Veritas. He flipped over to Chaos Wheel, and I was like, oh my god. Oh my god. So, spoiler alert, EX Burst dicking me out is going to happen a lot in this match. And that pretty... Like, I wouldn't say that definitely lost me to game 1, but that set me back massively. So basically, one Chaos Wheel was already in damage, one was discarded, and he bursted the third one, and then, so I lost game 1, so I was, like, basically behind for the rest of that game. Game 2, I set up really quickly, and I was able to get control of the board pretty well. There was a minor mistake that Tony made when he already had a minion on the field and he played another minion and then bounced one of his cards and drew a card. So the situation was rectified, though it wasn't perfectly rectified. So the ruling at the time was like, I believe it was Tony's hand was shuffled. Because they couldn't confirm which card was the card that he drew off the minion, Tony's hand was shuffled, a card was randomly selected out of it that's shown to me, and then that card goes back into his deck. I believe that was the case. Tony's a great guy, and definitely it was a fatigue mistake. I'm very confident that he wouldn't have tried to cheat or anything. He definitely didn't realize, and I didn't realize that he had the second minion on the field. So I guess that is something to note, that if you for good habits, don't stack your backups together, right? Try to brace them out. If you guys notice me on stream, a large majority of situations of the time, I will have my backups spread out as 5. It does make tapping them a little bit more difficult, or a little bit more tedious, but at least, that way it's very clear to both players what you have in the backup line. For game 2, I kept pressure on, I was able to stall him out, and then I got a 1 via mill. I believe that at the end, I was just like, Valor mill, Valor mill, Valor mill. Valor mill, Valor mill, and then Dablos mill, to just send him from 5 cards down to 0. So basically I won because of that. And then he scooped up and we go to game 3. So this should say game 3. So game 3, I was in good shape again. I managed to get rid of, in the mid game, I managed to get rid of 2 of his Uni 5s. I believe I Zidane'd one of them, and another one was EX Burst. So it means that he only had 1 more Uni 5 left in his deck, which means if he doesn't draw or if he doesn't get to it, his Chaos Wheels and his Pains were significantly weaker. So Chaos Wheels, he couldn't remove my guy, so I subsequently get to play a free guy. And also, if he played free cost Pain, it means that he couldn't, draw a card as well. So both those 2 cards get significantly weaker if he didn't get his last Yuna and be able to play it onto the field. I was in pretty good shape because I blanked his Magus Sisters with Yuri and then killed it at some point in the mid game. And because he had already discarded 2 Magus Sisters into the break zone, because I blanked the third Magus Sisters, he basically gets no more Magus Sisters, right? So let's say if he had 1 Magus Sister in the bin and 1 on the field, even if I blanked and killed that Magus Sister, it kind of doesn't matter, because if he plays a third Magus Sister, that third Magus Sister will still get free life, right? But because it was the third Magus Sister, blanking and killing it means that I basically just canceled out all his Magus Sister revivals. I was in a really good position at that stage. I was in a really good position at that stage. I had board control. I had 3 guys, and I swung with 3 guys, and you know what? Hit 3 EX Bursts in a row! Goddamn. Hit 3 EX Bursts in a row, which dicked me real hard. And then he gets Uni 5 onto his board, which means that now Chaos Wheel becomes a lot more relevant or playable. And now the most pivotal turn most pivotal turn for the game was when I was on 4 backups. Like I lost one due to Veritas earlier in the game. I had a Chilinka and a Fina on the board, and Tony had played Lena to revive Porom. And so yeah, at that time, I started my turn. I had a Yuri, a Shinra, and like another backup in my hand. So I could have played Shinra to search for my final free cost pain. And do something with that later. But what I opted to do instead, I opted to discard the 2 backups from my hand to play Yuri, use Yuri's ability to remove Porum's ability, to blank Porum's ability, and then use Alhanalem to kill it, and then swung through with my Fina. So yeah, so basically I went through like the extra hoops to blank his Porum because I was ahead on resources and ahead on field at the time, and I was also ahead on damage, and I was applying pressure. So that's why I spent a shit ton of resources to deal with this one Porum. And then like, yeah, you know what happens? I swing through with the Fina, he doesn't block it, and he EX bursts a Porum. So I go through all this trouble to make sure he doesn't get a Porum resolve, and then like attack, he gets a Porum resolve anyways, right? So yeah, and then like the Porum resolves and he gets Chaos Wheel. He gets a Chaos Wheel, and then yeah, so basically on the following turn he gets a Chaos Wheel, and then Veritas, and then kill a whole bunch of my shit. But yeah, so like I still think that what I did was the correct play, but at that time, had I played Shinra and just like swung in with guys, I think I probably would have won the game at that stage. Or yeah, because it would allow me to play Pain on the following turn, would have had a lot more resources, would have had 5 backups, and like push in for game from that point on. So I think I would have been in a much better position had I played the Shinra at that stage. So yeah. The final stage of the game came down to like one last bit of luck, alright? So he had 5 cards left in the deck, and he had a Yushtola on the field, and he had no cards in hand. I got unlucky a couple of turns before by drawing double pains. But at this stage of the game, I had 3 backups on the field because I just kept getting Veritas. I had a Bartz, Riku, and a little pain in my hand at 6 damage, right? So in order for me to win that turn, I needed to mill him 4 cards. In order to win that turn, so on the following turn he like loses, right? But I couldn't do it, right? So technically, I could mill 3. I could use. Because I had a Riku in hand, I could have mugged him for 2, drawn an extra card, and then I would have tapped 1 back up, pitched a little pain, and then pitched the other card that I drew to play Bartz, reactivate my win characters, which is just my 2 win backups, and I can mill him one more time. So I could get him down to exactly like 2 cards, which means, yeah, but like the thing is he draws 2 cards and he's still safe, right? So yeah, so I definitely couldn't kill him, and I was like 1 card short, right? Now, the big thing to note was that he also... Like, I also worked out his last 5 cards, and there were only kind of 2 outs that would help him, is Diablos. He still had 2 Diablos left in his deck, so out of 5 cards, he still had 2 Diablos. So basically, if you draw Diablos, I instantly lose, because he just Diablos kills my Bartz and then swings through with the Yushtola. So yeah, so like, I definitely lose, if he draws into one of his Diablos. So it's like, if I mill him, and like I put the 2 Diabloses in the bin, then like I'm good. I know 100% I win, right? But because so either way, it was either take a guess on whether his next 2 cards are Diablos, or if Diablos are in the bottom 2 cards of his deck, right? I guess hypothetically there could be a situation where he had Diablos as his last card as well as his like top card of his deck, and so I'd lose either way. But yeah, so I chose not to do that. I played the Bartz. He drew a Diablos off the top, killed my Bartz, and then just swung in for game. So unfortunately, not quite enough luck to win that game. And yeah, I was just 1 card off, which means if during some point in the game, had I just milled 1 extra card, it means I possibly could have won. So basically, games are kind of like that. Sometimes like luck really hits you hard. So post-event, firstly, I was really deflated after my loss. I felt that, like, just a lot of bad luck really hit me. So, like, we were both playing Windwater, so admittedly, his EX burst count was probably 5-ish cards higher than mine, 5 to 6 cards higher than mine, I would assume. And so basically, like, he hit so many more, like, quality EX bursts at the right time, compared to me. So I did hit like a reasonable amount of EX bursts on my side, but it just seems like his EX bursts just hit really good at the right time. So yeah, I was like really deflated, quite annoyed at like how luck just dicked me out so bad. Yeah, so like yeah, so definitely like congratulations and well done to Tony. Nothing against him personally. I was just really annoyed at sort of like how luck played out and how my performance played out. I felt I played pretty well, but like yeah, luck was just not on my side that day. Luck was particularly not on my side in that best of three, in my opinion. But yeah, so like I also reflected, and I think that Windwater FFCC wasn't the correct deck for the event. Yeah, there was quite a lot of mono wind in the metagame. And I think Windwater FSCC just kind of wasn't the right deck in the meta. I think it might have been better against like a more aggressive, metagame. But yeah, like, I think it wasn't the correct deck to play. So, yeah, so like, overall, I wasn't particularly happy with it. So yeah, in Swiss, there were just far too many close calls. There are far too many close calls. And the deck, whilst it has a lot of really powerful combo pieces, these combo pieces kind of have to be played together at the same time. So if you don't get Valfor with Fina, or if you don't get Valfor with Chelinka, or you don't get pieces coming together at the right time, you can't really get that maximum effect or value. And also, because the deck has so many combo pieces, it doesn't have enough cards for tech slots, so not enough cards that are independently good and used to deal with specific tech cards. So yeah, by all means, the deck is very solid. The deck is very good. But I guess at that highest level of play, there are too many setup requirements. So you do want to get our Hanlim to set up for your FFCC stuff. You do want to set up your Riku and your Pain for that sort of play as well. But yeah, you just had too many requirements to the stuff you need to play, and you didn't have enough flexibility. So your overall, the deck was reliable enough for Swiss, but it wasn't consistent enough to win top cut in single elimination. Because in single elimination top cut, your deck has to be good enough to win 3 best of 3s in a row, right? And yeah, my deck just happened to have not been consistent enough, and I guess my opponent just had a little bit better luck on the day, and so I just really didn't quite get there. So yeah, I think in hindsight, it probably wasn't the best deck to bring on that day or in that particular metagame. So yeah, so I was like overall pretty disappointed with my weekend. You know, play really well through Swiss, play really well through draft, and then just like play one best of 3 game in top 8, and that's over. And yeah, I think like I think my matchups against pretty much a large majority of other decks playing in top 8, I probably would have been fine. But yeah, just this one specific matchup wasn't in my favor, I feel. But yeah, so like that was my tournament report for Crystal Cup Melbourne. I know it's kind of ended on a bit of a sour note. I do want to like really emphasize that like I'm totally fine about it right now, but like, yeah, definitely on that Sunday night, I didn't really feel like talking to anyone. I didn't want to go out drinking. Yeah, like I am someone that really doesn't like carry all that much emotion, like when he's playing cards, but like, yeah, just particularly that event, I just wasn't feeling it afterwards. But yeah. So that was part 2 of my Crystal Cup Crusade, like the down between the up. So next time we are going to be talking about part 3 of my Crystal Cup Crusade, which is where we talk about Singapore win Crystal Cup. And also I'll be doing my special thanks in that video as well as community questions that you guys sent in to me. So if you guys have any community questions, you guys probably have about 24 hours to submit them through, put them up online in the comment section down below, and I will try to add them in to my 3rd part video. But until next time, thank you guys for watching. Grand J out.